Hello, everybody, and welcome back to End Zone, our podcast from Synced Up Designs. We're here to talk about summer band. This is what it's all about, people. This is where all the memories are made, the momentum for your season gets going. Important to get fired up for summer band. So we're coming in hot today with 10 great tips for students and then an awesome top 10 for directors to head into summer band here. So I'm going to start by talking directly to you students out there. If you're in 12th, 11th, 10th, or especially 9th grade heading into your first band camp, this is just for you, all right? As every student, you need to kind of get your juices flowing towards band camp, mentally align yourself, be physically and spiritually prepared to do this thing. All right, so number one for students heading into band camp, stretching. Stretching is important. When I was an 8th grader headed into 9th grade, never probably stretched except for gym class when they asked you to do it, right? This is going to be your absolute life's blood is to stretch your body. Give it its proper respect, morning and night. Your legs, your back, your neck, your torso. It really pays you back double when you think about it. You're gonna get your body stretched out from what you just put it through at the end of a workout session or end of a rehearsal, and it also prepares you for tomorrow. If you had a friend who was gonna pay you back $10 every time you gave him $5, that's stretching. Stretching is that friend. All right, it's going to pay you back double every time you do it. I would invest in the stretching.
And I think a good stretch routine a band has before they do it. Typically, bands are starting to get into like the 2 to 5 minute kind of stretch routine, movement routine that goes with an audio track or something like that, so it's consistent. But there's also things that you should be able to do, like after rehearsal at night when you get home and things are calming down. You got to be able to do what's needed for you.
Right.
Because everybody's going to be different as far as like your entry point and what you're doing as far as the athleticism.
Yeah.
So you might go into it like couch to 5K type situation.
Sure.
You might need a little more stretching than the next person. So I think it's about being honest with yourself and kind of knowing where you're at.
A couple good things you could do are laying on your back, hugging your knees, and rocking back and forth. Give yourself a little back massage at the end of the day. That's a nice treat for yourself at the end of the day.
Laying on a tennis ball.
Laying on a tennis ball.
Laying on a tennis ball. They obviously sell like massage balls that come in different sizes or whatever. But I found that a tennis ball is the best because it gives enough when you're laying on it. Not a softball, not a baseball, not a golf ball. But a tennis ball is the right size, and I like to lay on it between my shoulder blades and my shoulders. It's great because you can hit the pressure points where you need it. You can roll around and relax, and you can feel the muscles relax the way they need to.
Right.
I think it's great.
And after holding a horn up all day or holding a drum carrier all day, that's going to feel amazing for you. Especially if you're like a side sleeper. You're sleeping like this, you're holding your horn up all day, and you do that for 2 weeks when you've never done that for 2 weeks. You're going to need the tennis ball,
You're
right?
going to realize you had muscles you never knew you had.
Right.
So
that's going to be the entire band camp. So I think the group stretching as a full band, and then give yourself a little extra dose in the mornings and nights because it'll really pay you back. Number 2, this is just for the students again. This is an important one. Some toughness, all right? You're in 9th or 10th grade. You're heading into one of your first band camps. There's just discomfort in bands sometimes. I mean, it's going to be a hot, muggy day. The parking lot is hot. There's flies buzzing around. The person in drill block next to you didn't wear their deodorant. Like, there's going to be some discomfortable moments in band. And I think just knowing that up front and being ready to get yourself over that hump is huge mentally. You're going to thank yourself later for pushing through some of those moments of discomfort.
yeah, I think one of the biggest things that freshmen need to understand when they get into it is like everybody's in the same position. You aren't special. So if you're looking at the upperclassmen and you're seeing them tough through things, like try to mimic that. Like understand they went through the same battle you're going through now, and it's okay to push through. You know, nobody's going to try to make you pass out, go without water, anything like that. So just know that your care is being cared for by the adults in the room, right, or on the field. So they're going to know where your limit is far before you probably do, and it's okay. You know, you're gonna experience some hardships you've never experienced before. But that's the whole point of it, right?
It really is. And you don't want to be the person sitting out all the time. It kind of brings the vibe down. I mean, obviously, if you're injured, if it's a real injury, you're going to be in communication with an adult about that, and that obviously needs to be given the proper experience if you're injured, the rest and treatment. But a lot of times it's your first band camp, and you're just going to hit that mental wall of like, gosh, this stinks. I'm just out here sweating.
Well, I think the thing that I've experienced
push through that.
Teaching many band camps is like students, when you're carrying drums for the first time, you're going to find those muscles you've never had, or now they're going to be hurting so much, and you might confuse that as I'm hurt versus like, no, you just have body aches from your muscles breaking down and having to rebuild. So just having an understanding of like what hurt and aching feels like, so you don't confuse the two, and it causes you to sit out, and then now you're getting weaker because you're not participating in that kind of thing.
Right. And you can probably help yourself out the few weeks leading up to band camp. Hold your horn properly while you practice for a few hours a day, like that way you're not just taking 7 days in a row of brutality to yourself. Kind of prepare yourself, wear your drums before you get to band camp.
You can't always go 0 to hero in the first day. You got to kind of warm up to it for sure.
Right. All right, number 3, and these are in no particular order, but a very good one. Let's keep it positive out there, everybody. All right, you're out on the band field. Nobody needs a crab apple spoiling the vibe on the band field. All right, be coachable. Be positive in the way you talk to your fellow drumline members. I've definitely been in both kinds of ensembles, and it's way better when people are encouraging and you have the permission to make mistakes and get better every day, instead of kind of being the other way. So I think just having a better attitude, especially being coachable by your staff. And if you're one of the older members, you need to set that example to the younger ones, that you're not going to talk back to the staff. You're not going to ruin the vibe out there. Everything from water breaks to on and off the field.
Yeah, don't try to be the cool kid. If you think you're the cool kid that wants to talk back to the staff, just go do another activity. Make it easier for everybody else, and just go ahead and do something else that you would like to do.
Right.
So,
yeah. Team sport. Keep it positive out there. All right, number 4. I want to talk about your foundation of marching band. One thing that every member shares, drumline, horns, color guard, everybody has to have strong calves and feet. It is the bottom of your body where all the marching around happens, is your calves and feet. So if you're new at this, 9th, 10th grade, that's something that you don't want to fail while you're trying to get everything else strong that's on top of it. So I came from East Coast programs where we were just doing calf raises as a drum line for heavy amounts of time. And they, I don't know why I took this to heart especially, but one of my drumline instructors was like, you need to start sprinkling in calf raises like in your day. Like you're at the grocery store deciding between types of Campbell's soup, you're doing calf raises. You're brushing your teeth in the morning, you're doing some calf raises. You're pouring the milk in your cereal, careful, don't spill, but you're doing some calf raises. You need to have a strong foundation for everything else to happen on. So I know that's kind of uber specific body part to focus in on, but like if that fails, what do you got?
Right. I think some of the perfect opportunities to do it when I was teaching band camp is like, why after you do a drill set and the band director's resetting the flutes or the color guard or whatever, and you're standing there for like 3 minutes, full drum line, 20 calf raises, nice and slow. Everybody does it together, no heels hit the ground.
Yeah.
Just keep it always up, and then that way you can get your reps in even though you're not marching. I think one of the skills that I like to get drum lines to do when we're just standing still is to be able to stand with your feet shoulder width apart as if you're in a crabbing situation, and you get up on your platform and you play exercises with your muscles flexed the same way, and that way you understand what your body feels like with your muscles flexed in a cross position or wide position.
Right.
And then that way your muscles are learning what that feels like, and then it's easier when you get to marching and you're physically moving, you already know the muscles that you need to flex. And not only that, when you're doing that while you're sitting still, you're just doing warm-ups, you're not physically having to track around and worry about drinking gallons of water because you're covering so much ground and coming back. You can physically work out in your warm-up.
Right.
Instead of just physically marking time, you can get up on your platform. So
yeah. All right, so that's a good like morning ritual I suggested with brushing your teeth or whatever. Let's go to a nighttime ritual. This one's from memorization of music. So before you go to bed, sing your parts to yourself, hum your parts to yourself, go through your work, your drill, whatever it is for you. But that's a really good time. If you kicked your butt all day at band camp, you go home, you decompress, whatever it is you need to do to kind of shake it off and be you for a little bit. But before you go to bed, run your parts again, because you don't want to be falling behind on memorization, like just reinforce all of that neural network stuff at night. Okay, I remember, good night. All right, and you'll wake up, you'll have it all a little bit stronger and come back. So
sure. I think some of that is, don't be intimidated by having to learn 5 minutes of music. Know what you have to do the next day and make sure you have at least that memorized, like you're keeping up with the Joneses per se, right? And that way you don't feel like, oh, this is too much, I can't get it all done. Just kind of stay ahead of the curve or the game plan as far as like what the band directors expect from you. And that way you don't feel like you're having to learn 5, 7, 8 minutes of music. You can just kind of learn, tomorrow we're just doing B to D in the music. I can make sure I knock that out. I know when I was younger, when I was practicing and trying to make the standard line in high school and all that, and once I was in like trying to keep up, the things that I would do is I would, everybody drums their fingers, right? But I would lay in bed and like mark time and figure out how to get my feet to parts. And, you don't physically need sticks in your hands or a drum or anything like that. It's really about mental reps and working out some rhythmic coordination stuff with your feet and your hands, and you're good to go.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Got to get the mind strong first. Next one, this is a kind of obvious one that I think gets mentioned a lot, but can't really be mentioned too much. Core strength. All right. And I only mention this because all the way up to the very top level of the activity, you're still going to be asked for even more and more and more core strength to control your instrument, to make the drill look sharp on direction changes, all those things. But the reason I bring this up is not just a general, like, core strength is good for you kids, and it is. But I'm bringing it up because I didn't have a lot of that when I started marching band. And I just want to give a shout out to anyone of any size doing marching band, because band kids come in all shapes and sizes, that even if you're not starting with a lot of core strength, even if it's like, all right, we're all going to keep our feet up for 60 seconds and you make it through 5, even if that's you, every little bit will help you march better, will help you control your instrument better, prevent injury more, and make you have more fun. So I just think for everybody, nobody likes working out their core. Whatever psychopaths out there love working out their core, I don't know. But whatever level you're at, do it, right? Just that little bit of gain you can give yourself on core strength, no matter where you're starting, you're going to have a better time in marching band.
Yeah, it just makes it less physical when it's time to do the thing, right? It's like when you're practicing your chops, you want to be able to play more than what you're asked to do in rehearsal so that it comes easy to you. You don't want to be struggling playing. Working out and being physical is the same way. You want to make sure you're able to do more than what you're asked to do in a performance setting, and it just makes it easier.
Right.
So.
Thankfully, you don't have to do 100 sit-ups in the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then I would not be in band. So.
All right. This is another shout out for young marchers. All right. This is our number 7 on this list in no particular order. Consistent step size is a major key. All right, again, seemingly specific thing to mention here, but I wanted to bring it up because drill is the newest part of the activity for people just getting into marching band. You've already been on your instrument since maybe 4th, 5th grade, 7th, 8th grade, and now you're in the big leagues. You're in high school marching band. So drill is a little bit newer. It can be the uncomfortable part, but I just wanted to give a shout out to my 4 best friends, the 2 first steps and the 2 last steps of the drill move. Those are the 4 best friends you ever need. First 2 steps and last 2 steps. Get with a friend and do some eyes closed 8 to 5s. See who can march an 8 to 5, 6 to 5s. Whatever your stuff in the show is, getting a mastery over that in a safe, individual, eyes closed, kind of give yourself a pop quiz, and just work on that skill. Because once you can start drill moves and end drill moves, you'll stop getting comments so much for being dirty on the field.
Right, and a typical mistake most people do, even at the top level, is like you shortchange your first step. And a lot of that has to do with how some people teach technique initially, which is they'll keep their body straight and they only stick out the left foot for an attack versus a body weight change with the back foot. So if you are in a situation to where somebody's just teaching the foot out versus body up, that does have a purpose, but we need to make sure that the weight shift changes between your body weight and pushing with the back foot so that you can get to that first step in time. Because what typically happens if you don't work on a body shift change on the first beat, you put out your first foot, and then the second one is slower because you now have to make up for the fact that you didn't push to make the first one. Then you got to make up for it and get to the second one. Then you got momentum. So it's really, really beneficial as you're working on your first two steps to make sure that your body weight physically changes from your back foot versus just sticking at your left foot and touching the ground on the beat. Like, there's way more to it than just that.
Is it the hokey pokey, put one foot in, or did I move my body?
Yeah, your body.
Right, you got to move the body. Right.
One other thing I want to talk about that real quick. A good exercise that I like to do is once drummers and even horn players, but mainly use with drummers because of the flat playing surface we have to deal with, is once they get comfortable and strong enough to start understanding how to march and stop their feet after 8 counts and close their feet, I'll fill up a cup of water, and like a styrofoam cup about a ½ inch from the top, and I'll set it on their drum, and we'll do marching games where see how many steps they can take to the end and keep their drum as smooth as possible. And it's amazing how quickly things fix with their technique and how to roll through the beat or how to control their platform when they're on their toes when they see that water spilling out, right? It's like it's instant results from your test. You don't have to wait for a staff to tell you. You can see it. The water's spilling all over your drum, you know?
I heard that in my 9th grade, an older kid told me that Tom Unks used to do that with the cadets and put his morning coffee on a drum. We'll have to ask Tom when he's on next.
Sure.
But it was just the idea of that was enough to be like,
yeah, I get it.
Don't spill Tom's coffee.
Yeah, he's going to need that later.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, actually, this is a great segue. Speaking of our good friend Tom Unks, here's number 8, watch drum corps with your section. I think this was a major, like, life-changing event in my 9th grade band camp when it was like, all right, drum line's getting together to watch drum corps. It would be like being on your school basketball team and hearing that some of the kids had never even heard of the NBA. Never saw it. What are you talking about? You know, like, you gotta get together and watch the pros, watch the big guys do it. It'll make every little detail take ownership. You know, you're gonna level up your whole group by watching drum corps together. And this summer, the DCI, Drum Corps International, for those of you listening, go on Drum Corps International's website, dci.org. Find the local show to you and get some people together to go watch. If you can figure out where a corps is rehearsing and go watch them rehearse a little bit. And if you can't do those things for whatever reason, then have a watch party, host a watch party at your house and watch it streaming. That level of inspiration is just a game changer.
Right. I know for me, it was definitely life-changing to go watch drum corps when I was a junior in high school. Like, around Nashville, we had the DCI South that was at Vanderbilt at the time. Now it's the version of it's at Murfreesboro, right? But back then, they all came through, and I found out where they were rehearsing at all the local schools or middle schools, and got my folks to drop me off and sit there for all 12 hours and come back all sunburned because I was like, wait, these guys rehearse outside all day? Okay,
right.
Well, that's what they did. And but yeah, I got to watch like 92 BD. 93 Star, 93 Cadets. Like, I got to watch a lot of groups in person and see them in the show also, but be able to watch them rehearse. And for me, that was definitely life-changing. Our band was good when we were in high school. It wasn't like, I didn't understand what was going on, but it was definitely, it was eye-opening. It was motivational. It was like, wow, there's other things out there than this, and people are paying to do this. It was one of those things. But yeah, definitely get your students out to watch as much as they possibly can, because that value that you will get when they come back and start to rehearse and start to emulate the pros, like, it's invaluable. You have to be able to do it, because you can't teach that. You have to see it, and yeah, immersion's the best.
The first time you see that horns up as a full brass line, like, if you're a trumpet player, you're going to want to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, go watch drum corps. On tour this summer, city near you, hopefully. Number 9, be a helper. Be a helper person, all right? We need more of them in the world. We all know it. But if you are an older person in your group or not, you can be 9th grade and good at marching band, all right? And going back to the drill earlier, you can be 9th grade and be awesome, right? If you watch the top BOA groups, they got 9th graders in the group, so you can be amazing young, all right? But on this one, be a helper, no matter who you are. If you see someone struggling with music, struggling on a drill move, getting comments the whole rehearsal, step in, offer to help them, give a little encouragement, some of your time. It's the number one thing you could give. It doesn't cost you much, and it'll make a big difference for that person to have someone show that they care a little bit about them, make them feel like they're part of the family, and give them some encouragement, help them out. I think that's really important.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that is make sure your house is clean first.
Don't be a junior tech if you stink.
Don't be a junior tech. If you're out there missing step-offs and, playing the wrong stuff, don't be the one that's first to help somebody else.
Sure.
Be the first to ask for help.
Right.
So, I think there's some variables in there that can be helpful on all sides, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Yeah. Number 10, this is somewhat like one of my earlier ones, but this is just for everybody who's out there in the struggle. I just want to encourage you to greet your challenges like friends. All right, everyone's got a different challenge. For you, it might I remember it was kicking my butt physically in the beginning of marching band, and I'd look over out of the corner of my eye at the other kids who had their feet doing 6 inches above the ground, like ab core work, and they're just like nothing. Just minutes of having their feet in the air, and I'm over here at 10 seconds at the time or whatever. And it's easy to think, oh gosh, I'm one of the bad kids and these are the good kids. But everybody's different. Maybe that kid has a bad embouchure, can't hit playing tune. Whatever your challenge is, you just need to be able to show up today and do a good job today. Get a little bit better. Everybody's on their own different set of challenges, but everybody has to face the suck the same, whatever yours is.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings the point of the quicker your awareness is as a student, the quicker you're going to be able to own those problems and fix it. Too often a student might realize, why am I getting comments all the time? Why is Johnny or Susie not getting the comments? Why am I the only one? Well, I think at that point that student may not be completely self-aware just yet. And I think to me that's the biggest part of growth with band is you should become self-aware pretty quick as far as where you stand, what you need to work on, what you're good at, so that you maybe don't necessarily need to practice that as much and be able to practice the things that you're not good at. Too often somebody finds something they're good at and that's all they play. They never work on the things they're not good at. So, but the only way you can get to that point is if you're self-aware, right? And it's hard to work on things you're not good at because it just requires more work. It's not as fun.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. If I had to learn how to play flam jags, but I could play flam taps really well, I'm just playing flam taps all day, So I think it just has to do with what's expected of you and just kind of be self-aware and know your weaknesses.
And the staff is going to be a factor as part of that, right? Your instructors, they're probably going to give you less comments about what you're good at. So they're going to be chewing on you about what you're not good at.
Yeah.
And if you're a 9th or 10th or 11th grader, in some of your first band camps, that could get to you. I mean, even the experience of having to follow instructions for 4 hours at a time might be something brand new to you, especially because it's kind of a merge between band class and gym class. You have somebody for 4 straight hours, you have to follow every instruction, starting and stopping, and getting better. That's kind of a mental level up for you to go from 8th to 9th grade and be able to hang in there for 4 hours of good rehearsal and make it quality. And the instructors who are going to be there pushing you through that are on your side. So if you're getting comments, even if it's gosh, they keep riding me about this step 1, that's because they want you to do it and they believe in you. So
absolutely. And there's some other ways to look at it. The thing I would tell my students, when you're looking at a full class of 9th through, seniors, you have to explain to them, when you're a freshman and a sophomore, you're learning, you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to get a part of the team. You're trying to be a part of everything. You're trying to learn as much as you possibly can. By the time you're a sophomore or junior, you're just trying to be in the program, exist, contribute. And then what I found is a lot of times when students become seniors, they might not be getting as much comments because the focus is now on the younger students. And it can be discouraging as a senior, but what I tell my seniors is this is the time for you to give back. So yes, you got a lot of comments and you may feel like you got senioritis and you want to go do something else, but understand that the staff and teachers invested in you so that by the time you became a senior, you should be able to help out a little bit and be that one that's more of a mentor to the young ones and lead by example. You may not be a section leader. That's fine. Leaders aren't always appointed. Leaders are the ones that take initiative and take over and make sure, not take over, but show the initiative present the examples and be clear with their intent with the people around them.
Right.
And a lot of times seniors lose sight of that. They're just like, cool, I'm good, I'm moving on now. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, your job's not done. You got to make sure you give back a little bit. And I think that's important, because I think we've all run across seniors that are just like, I want to go do something else.
Right.
And they totally forget all the woes they caused the band directors when they were freshmen and sophomore, and then they were part of the program as a junior, and not needing a lot of help, but maybe they weren't a leader. They were just like making the program work, and then now all of a sudden they're in a position to be a senior and give back, and they're like, I'm done. It's like, that's not the way to do it.
Right. You're missing one of the big takeaways of band then.
Right,
because
exactly.
part of this whole thing is to take you from your childhood into being a successful young adult. And when you're 17 turning 18 and you've had 3 years of adults helping you grow, then it's time to pay it forward. It's time to give back.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's 10 from me for students directly. Honorable mentions, I have 2. Number 1, obviously you got to have fun. And in the words of Hall of Famer Scott Johnson, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. Shout out Scott. I always love that one. It's a real gem. And in all caps, drink more water. You already know it.